Hurry up, boy. Can't you see we're waiting?
Yes, sir.
What can I get for you? Your service is terrible. You're useless.
Stop it!
3 years ago, Marcus Johnson stood in front of 6 professors at Columbia University and defended a dissertation that would have made him the youngest expert on Japanese sociolinguistics in North America. The committee chair called his work on Kigo power dynamics revolutionary. Tokyo University offered him $120,000 a year to join their faculty. Stanford sent flowers. Harvard called twice. Then his phone rang at 11:30 on a Thursday night, and everything stopped. Now Marcus stands in the break room of Sakura Heights, Manhattan's most exclusive Japanese fusion restaurant, counting crumpled bills under fluorescent lights that hum like dying insects. $847. 3 doubles shifts, 14 hours of smiling at people who don't see him, and he's still $1,203 short of keeping his father alive past Monday morning. The text message glows on his phone screen. Payment of $2,050 due Monday, 9 a.m., or Mr. Williams will be transferred to county facility. Immunotherapy treatment will be discontinued. County facility means no experimental drugs. No experimental drugs means 6 months, maybe less. Marcus shoves the cash into his apron pocket and checks his reflection in the steel door of the industrial refrigerator. 27 years old. His server's uniform is borrowed from another waiter, 2 sizes too large because his own shirt tore at the seam 4 days ago and he can't afford to replace it yet. The tie is crooked. He straightens it, smooths down a wrinkle that keeps curling up no matter how much starch he uses. His eyes look older than they should. The dining room beyond the kitchen doors is a different world. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables where a single bottle of sake costs more than Marcus makes in a week. Conversations about mergers and acquisitions float over plates of A5 Wagyu that diners photograph before they even taste. This is where people come to prove they've made it, to show they understand refinement, to demonstrate they belong among Manhattan's elite. Marcus doesn't belong here. He knows it. They know it. But the tips pay for immunotherapy at $15,000 a month, and that's the only math that matters. Michelle Anderson appears in the doorway, her face tight with the kind of stress that comes from managing a restaurant where one bad Yelp review can tank a month's revenue. She's 38, efficient, and believes that visible exhaustion is a personal failing. Right now she looks like she's trying very hard not to be exhausted. Her voice cuts through the kitchen noise. Marcus, Table 12, VIP reservation, James Nakamura. Marcus looks up from his phone. CEO of Nakamura Tech, billion-dollar AI company. He's notoriously difficult. Michelle smooths her blazer, a nervous habit. He's complained about authenticity at every Japanese restaurant in Manhattan. We cannot afford bad press right now. Marcus slides his phone into his pocket. I've served worse. Not like this. Michelle's eyes are serious. He specifically requested our best server who understands Japanese culture. I told them that's you. Do not mess this up. The weight of that statement settles in Marcus's chest. Best server. She doesn't know. Nobody here knows that 3 years ago he could have been teaching courses on the exact cultural nuances she's worried about. Nobody knows that the man refilling water glasses speaks 5 languages and can trace the evolution of Japanese honorifics across 8 centuries. They see a server, that's all. I'll take care of it, Marcus says. Michelle nods and disappears back into the dining room. Through the kitchen pass, Marcus can see table 12 being set with extra care. White tablecloth, fresh orchids, the restaurant's finest sake glasses. Patricia Garcia, the head chef, is already plating appetizers with the kind of precision that comes from 30 years in high-end kitchens. In the corner, at table 7, an elderly Japanese man sits alone. He's been there for an hour, eating slowly, reading something on his phone. Dr. Kenneth Yamamoto, according to the reservation book. He ordered simply, paid in cash, tipped well. The kind of customer who doesn't demand attention, which makes him invisible in a room full of people competing to be seen. Marcus doesn't notice when Yamamoto glances up at the mention of his name, doesn't see the small flicker of interest when Michelle says he studied Japanese in grad school, speaks it fluently. Doesn't see Yamamoto set down his chopsticks and watch with sudden focused attention. The front doors open at 7:45. James Nakamura enters the way people enter when they've never been told no in their entire lives. He's 45, wearing a navy Tom Ford suit that probably cost $6,000. His silver-white hair is styled with aggressive perfection, not a strand out of place. The Patek Philippe Nautilus on his wrist is worth more than most people's cars. Everything about him is calculated to communicate status, power, wealth that doesn't need to announce itself but does anyway. 3 people trail behind him. 2 men in expensive suits with the nervous energy of employees afraid to disappoint their boss. 1 woman in a midnight blue dress who looks like she'd rather be anywhere else. She has the exhausted patience of someone who's had this exact evening too many times before. James doesn't acknowledge the hostess, just snaps his fingers without making eye contact and walks toward table 12 like he already owns it. His eyes sweep the dining room, cataloging who's watching, who recognizes him, who matters. Those eyes land on Marcus approaching with menus. There's a pause. A flicker of something that might be surprise or might be calculation. James's mouth curves into a thin smirk. He turns to his associates, loud enough for Marcus to hear. "Interesting choice of staff for a Japanese establishment." The words hang in the air. The 2 male associates shift uncomfortably. The woman, his wife, Marcus realizes from the wedding ring, closes her eyes briefly, a micro-expression of resigned embarrassment. Marcus has felt this before. The weight of being assessed and dismissed in the same glance. The casual cruelty of people who think their money makes them entitled to comment on your existence. But he's been training for moments like this since he was 7 years old, watching his father come home with hands black from metal dust, teaching him that dignity isn't something someone gives you, it's something you refuse to surrender. Marcus's voice is level, professional. "Good evening. Welcome to Sakura Heights. My name is Marcus. I'll be—" James cuts him off, switching languages mid-sentence. The Japanese that pours out is rapid, formal, deliberately complex. He's using the highest levels of Kigo, honorific language that most Americans with Japanese heritage barely touch. He speaks quickly, peppering his order with archaic Edo period agricultural terminology, demanding a specific preparation of A5 Miyazaki Wagyu with regional sake pairings that require knowledge of obscure prefectures most people have never heard of. It's a performance, a test, a trap. The associates glance at each other. One of them mutters under his breath, "Jesus, James." But James isn't done. In the middle of his elaborate order, while maintaining perfect grammatical structure, he says in Japanese, "Ma tetsudai wa bunka wo rikai shio tomo shinai, dobutsu no yu ni hohoende unazuku dake." The help these days don't even try to understand culture. They just smile and nod like trained animals. The woman in the midnight blue dress, Linda Martinez, according to the name Marcus glimpsed on the reservation, whispers sharply, "James, stop it." James waves her off without looking at her. He's waiting for Marcus to stammer, to apologize, to call for the manager, to prove every assumption he's carried into this restaurant about who deserves to be here and who doesn't. The dining room has gone quiet. Other tables are noticing. Phones are coming out, angling toward the scene. This is Manhattan. Drama is content. Someone's always recording. At table 7, Dr. Yamamoto sets down his chopsticks. His expression hasn't changed, but his posture has. He's watching with the focused attention of someone who recognizes exactly what's happening. Marcus feels something shift inside his chest. It's not anger, not exactly. It's the memory of his father's voice from 20 years ago. They want you to fight with fists because they know they'll lose if you fight with words. Marcus straightens his spine. The change is subtle but complete. His shoulders roll back. His chin lifts. When his eyes lock onto James Nakamura's, they aren't the eyes of a server anymore. They're the eyes of a scholar about to dissect a specimen. The Japanese that comes out of Marcus's mouth is not James's Japanese. It's Heian period court language, the kind used by aristocrats 1,000 years ago, woven seamlessly with the most formal Kigo structures. His pronunciation is flawless. His pitch patterns are textbook. Every syllable lands with the precision of someone who didn't learn this language from heritage or family dinners. He learned it from philological analysis, from academic rigor, from 6 years of graduate-level study. Honorable guest, your use of the humble form sonkeigo, where the respectful form kenjogo is appropriate, suggests unfamiliarity with classical keigo structures, a common error among those who learned Japanese as a heritage language rather than through formal philological study. James' smile freezes. The transformation is instant. Confusion flickers across his face. Marcus continues, his tone the perfect blend of courtesy and condescension. The Wagyu preparation you requested, using Middle Edo terminology, would be historically inaccurate for this grade of beef. The cattle breeding methods you referenced didn't exist until the Meiji Restoration of 1868, but perhaps you were speaking metaphorically. He pauses, tilts his head. The smile he offers could cut glass. Regarding your earlier observation about the help, I understood perfectly. Your accent suggests West Coast American Japanese, likely third-generation Sansei, with limited exposure to native speakers. Your pitch patterns are distinctly Los Angeles suburban. It's quite charming. The silence that follows is absolute. 40-plus diners have stopped eating. Forks hover over plates. Conversations die mid-sentence. 15 phones are definitely recording now, held at angles that will make this scene look dramatic when it's posted to Twitter in the next 5 minutes. Patricia Garcia has emerged from the kitchen, drawn by the sudden quiet. Her mouth is slightly open. She's been cooking Japanese fusion for 3 decades, and she's never heard a server speak like this. At table 7, Dr. Yamamoto's lips curve into the smallest smile. He picks up his phone, opens the camera app, and starts recording. His angle is perfect. He has a clear view of both James and Marcus. James Nakamura's face cycles through a progression of emotions so fast they're almost cartoonish. Confusion, recognition, realization. Then something darker. Humiliation curdling into rage. His associates have gone very still. One of them whispers to the other, "Did that just happen?" Linda Martinez covers her mouth with one hand. Her eyes are wide. There's something in her expression that might be horror, or might be the kind of satisfaction that comes from watching your husband get exactly what he deserves. James stands abruptly. His chair scrapes against the floor, the sound harsh in the silent room. His voice cracks when he speaks. You have no idea who you're talking to." Marcus doesn't flinch. His voice remains calm, measured, the tone of someone who's already won and knows it. "I know exactly who I'm talking to, sir. A man who mistakes his grandfather's heritage for his own accomplishment." The words land like a physical blow. James's face goes from pale to crimson in seconds. Veins appear at his temples. His hands are shaking. "I will destroy you for this." The threat hangs in the air. Around them, phones keep recording. This is going to be everywhere by midnight. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. The CEO of a billion-dollar AI company getting verbally dismantled by a server in a borrowed uniform. Marcus can feel his heart pounding, adrenaline flooding his system, but his face remains composed. He's been training for this his whole life without knowing it. Every microaggression, every dismissal, every time someone looked at his skin color and made assumptions about what he could or couldn't know, they all led to this moment. But underneath the satisfaction, underneath the rush of finally being seen for who he actually is, there's a cold thread of fear starting to wind through his chest. Because James Nakamura isn't just angry. He's the kind of angry that comes with lawyers and power and the ability to ruin lives. Michelle appears at Marcus's elbow, her face drained of color. She's clearly been watching from the host stand, clearly understands that something catastrophic just happened, clearly has no idea how to fix it. "Mr. Nakamura, I apologize for any—" James ignores her completely. His eyes are locked on Marcus with the kind of focus that predators get right before they strike. When he speaks again, his voice is different, calmer, more dangerous. "Actually, I need to speak to management. Now." Michelle's hand tightens on Marcus's arm. "Of course, Mr. Nakamura." If there's been any issue with the service. Issue? James's laugh is sharp, brittle. I saw this man tamper with my food at the kitchen pass. I watched him reach over and touch my plate. I'm calling the police. This is attempted poisoning. The words detonate like a bomb. Gasps ripple through the dining room. The phones that were recording for entertainment are now recording for evidence. This isn't content anymore. This is a crime scene. Marcus feels the ground tilt beneath him. What? You were angry about being corrected on Japanese culture. James pulls out his phone, his movements deliberate. You retaliated. I have witnesses. He looks at his associates. The two men avoid eye contact. Linda Martinez stares at her husband with an expression that might be disgust, but none of them contradict him. That's the thing about power. The people who work for you learn very quickly when to be silent. Michelle's grip on Marcus's arm has gone from restraining to desperate. Marcus, did you touch his plate? I adjusted a garnish. Marcus's voice sounds distant to his own ears. That's standard plating protocol. Patricia can confirm. He's a billionaire with a legal team on retainer. Michelle's voice is low, urgent. They sue people for sport. I can't. Marcus, I'm sorry. You're terminated effective immediately. Leave through the back. Now. The words hit like physical blows. Fired. Just like that. 3 years of double shifts, of swallowing pride, of being invisible so he could keep his father alive, and it's over in 30 seconds. Marcus's phone buzzes in his pocket. He knows before he looks what it is. The hospital has impeccable timing. The text is from Memorial Hospital Billing Department. Time-stamped 8:32 p.m. Payment overdue. $2,050 due Monday, 9 a.m. or Mr. Williams will be transferred to county facility. Immunotherapy treatment will be discontinued. County facility. No experimental immunotherapy. 6 months, maybe less, watching his father's lungs slowly fill with fluid and cancer, and the accumulated cost of 40 years breathing metal dust and coal smoke and every particle of industrial America that settles in the lungs of men who swing hammers instead of signing contracts. Marcus looks at James Nakamura, at his expensive suit and his expensive watch and his expensive certainty that he can destroy anyone who makes him feel small. He thinks about his father, about Robert Williams at 7 in the evening, coming through the door of their West Virginia apartment with his face black from welding, his hands permanently stained with metal dust that never quite washes out. About being 7 years old and asking why his daddy's hands were always dirty. My hands may be dirty, boy, but my word stays clean. That's all a man really owns, his word and his dignity. Nobody can take those unless you give them up. Marcus has $847 in his pocket. He needs $2,050 by Monday morning. He needs this job. He needs to disappear into the kitchen and let this blow over and survive, because survival is all he's been doing for 3 years and he's gotten very good at it. But something in him refuses to move. James has his phone to his ear now. Yes, I need to report an attempted poisoning. Sakura Heights Restaurant, table 12. The server deliberately tampered with my food after I corrected his behavior. The lie is so smooth it's almost beautiful. James has done this before, Marcus realizes. Maybe not exactly this, but something close. The 14 prior discrimination complaints that surely exist somewhere in sealed court records. The pattern of using power to crush anyone who challenges his carefully constructed image of superiority. Marcus doesn't know about those complaints yet. Doesn't know about the settlements paid quietly to make problems disappear. Doesn't know that in 72 hours he'll spend every waking moment researching James Nakamura's history and building a legal case that will destroy everything the man has built. Right now, all Marcus knows is that he's about to lose everything. Michelle is pulling him toward the kitchen. Marcus, go, please. Around them, the restaurant has transformed into a theater. Every diner is watching. Every phone is recording. In the morning, this will be a viral video. Billionaire CEO calls police on black waiter. The comments section will be vicious and divided and utterly useless. At table 7, Dr. Yamamoto saves his video file with careful precision. He's been watching Marcus for the past hour, ever since Michelle mentioned graduate school and fluent Japanese. He's been looking for this young man for 3 years, ever since a brilliant dissertation on Kigo power dynamics crossed his desk at the Yamamoto Foundation, and he funded it anonymously through Columbia. He's been wondering what happened to the scholar who disappeared. Now he knows. But he doesn't intervene. Not yet. Because the most important thing he learned in 71 years is that rescue is only meaningful when someone has first tried to rescue themselves. Dignity can't be given. It can only be recognized. So he watches, records, waits. Marcus walks through the kitchen doors, his mind already racing ahead to impossible math. $847, $1,203 short, 60 hours until Monday at 9 a.m., no job, criminal charges pending, a billionaire with unlimited resources and a vendetta, and somewhere in Brooklyn, his father sits in a hospital bed with oxygen tubes in his nose, believing his son is at work earning the money that keeps him alive, never suspecting that the entire fragile structure is about to collapse. Patricia Garcia watches Marcus disappear into the break room. She's been at the kitchen past the entire night. She saw what happened, saw Marcus adjust the garnish on James Nakamura's appetizer, a routine movement she's seen every server make 1,000 times. She knows James is lying. But Patricia has 3 kids. 2 of them are in college. She takes 2 trains to get to work every day. She cannot afford to lose this job any more than Marcus could. So when Michelle asks, in a voice tight with panic, if she saw anything unusual, Patricia hesitates. Just for a second, just long enough to calculate the cost of truth against the cost of her mortgage. "I'm not sure," she says finally. "It was busy. I might have missed something. It's not quite a lie. It's not quite the truth. It's survival." Michelle nods, takes it as confirmation of uncertainty, and hurries back to the dining room to manage the situation that's spiraling further out of control with every passing second. In the break room, Marcus sits on a plastic chair and stares at his phone. The text from the hospital glows accusingly. He opens his banking app, checks the balance even though he knows exactly what it says. $847. The same as it was 10 minutes ago. The same as it will be tomorrow. His mind is already running through options. Call the hospital, beg for an extension. They'll say no. They always say no. Call his father's insurance company, argue about coverage. They'll cite the fine print that excludes experimental treatments. Take out a loan. With what collateral? His credit is already destroyed from 3 years of medical debt. There are no options. There were never any options. He's been one crisis away from catastrophic failure since the moment he withdrew from Columbia, and the crisis just arrived wearing a Tom Ford suit. Through the wall, he can hear raised voices. James Nakamura is not the kind of man who lowers his volume when he's angry. Michelle is trying to placate him, offering comped meals, sincere apologies, assurances that Marcus has been terminated. None of it matters. James doesn't want an apology. He wants destruction. Total, complete, public destruction. Because Marcus committed the unforgivable sin of making him feel small. Marcus thinks about his dissertation, about the chapter on linguistic power dynamics in Japanese corporate culture, about how language can be used as a weapon to maintain hierarchies, to keep people in their place, to signal who belongs and who doesn't. He'd written about this exact scenario, the use of complex Kigo to exclude and intimidate, the assumption that certain knowledge belongs only to certain people, the rage that comes when those assumptions are challenged. He'd written about it as an academic exercise, something to be analyzed from a safe distance. He never thought he'd be living it. His phone buzzes again. Not the hospital this time. A text from a number he doesn't recognize. "Just saw what happened. That guy's a piece of work. You okay?" Marcus stares at the message. Doesn't respond. He's not okay. He's never been less okay in his entire life, but he's also never been a man who surrenders. His father taught him that. 40 years of swinging a hammer, of breathing poison, of coming home exhausted and still finding energy to help his son with homework, to teach him that the world is not fair, but you fight anyway. You fight anyway. Marcus stands up, walks to the small mirror above the sink, looks at his reflection. 27 years old. Brilliant. broke. About to be arrested for a crime he didn't commit by a man who orchestrated the entire situation. The scholar staring back at him has a choice. He can disappear. Let James Nakamura win. Watch his father die slowly in a county hospital where the morphine is rationed and the experimental drugs don't exist. Or he can fight. He doesn't know yet that in 72 hours he'll be sitting in the New York Public Library, surviving on free coffee, building a legal case that will change everything. Doesn't know that the elderly Japanese man at table 7 has connections that could matter. Doesn't know that James Nakamura's wife is already pulling out her phone to call a divorce lawyer because this is the final straw in a marriage built on money and moral compromise. Right now, all Marcus knows is that he's out of options, which means he's about to become very dangerous. Through the kitchen doors, James Nakamura's voice rises. I want him arrested. I saw him tamper with my food. I have witnesses. This is attempted poisoning and I'm pressing full charges. Marcus takes a breath, straightens his borrowed uniform one last time, walks back into the dining room where 40 phones are recording and a billionaire is calling the police and his entire life is about to implode. He doesn't know if he's walking toward destruction or redemption, but he's walking anyway. The police arrive at 9:15. 2 officers who've clearly responded to complaints at high-end Manhattan restaurants before. They have the weary patience of people who know this is probably nothing but have to treat it like something anyway. The older one, a woman with gray streaks in her dark hair, takes James Nakamura's statement while her partner interviews Michelle near the host stand. Marcus sits in Michelle's office, a cramped space behind the kitchen that smells like printer toner and anxiety. The door is closed but not locked. He can hear everything. James's voice carries. I specifically requested they not touch my plate directly. I have severe food allergies. I watched him reach across the pass and make contact with the rim. Deliberate. Calculated. After I'd corrected his behavior earlier. The lie is surgical, precise. Built on a foundation that's just plausible enough to require investigation. The officer's pen scratches against her notepad. And what behavior was that, Mr. Nakamura? I ordered in Japanese. He took offense, got confrontational, used inappropriate language toward a customer. Marcus's hands curl into fists against his thighs. Every word is technically true and completely false. He did speak Japanese. He did contradict a customer. But the framing inverts reality so thoroughly it becomes its own kind of art. The younger officer appears in the office doorway. He's maybe 30, with the kind of face that hasn't decided yet whether to be sympathetic or suspicious. His eyes flick to Marcus's borrowed uniform, the name tag that says David, because Marcus still hasn't gotten his own made. Mr. Johnson, need to ask you some questions. Marcus stands. Follows the officer back into the kitchen where Patricia and 2 line cooks are pretending to prep for tomorrow while obviously listening to every word. Did you touch Mr. Nakamura's plate tonight? I adjusted the garnish. Microgreens had shifted during plating. Standard protocol. He says you deliberately made contact after he corrected your behavior. He insulted me in Japanese thinking I wouldn't understand. I responded fluently. He got angry. The officer's pen pauses. You speak Japanese? I have a master's degree in East Asian linguistics from Columbia University. I was ABD on my doctorate before... Marcus stops. Before my father got cancer. Before I had to choose between defending a dissertation and keeping someone alive. Before everything turned into this. Before what? Before I needed this job more than I needed a degree. Something shifts in the officer's expression. Not quite sympathy, more like recognition. The look of someone who understands that life doesn't always go according to plan. These are serious allegations, Mr. Johnson. Tampering with food, especially after a confrontation, that's criminal mischief at minimum. If he can prove intent, it's assault. Marcus's throat goes dry. Assault. A criminal record. The end of any hope of returning to academia, of ever working anywhere that requires a background check. The end of everything. I didn't tamper with anything. Patricia was at the pass the entire time. She can confirm. The officer looks at Patricia, who's suddenly very interested in a sauce reduction that doesn't need her attention. She doesn't look up, doesn't speak. Marcus watches her internal calculation play out in real time. 3 kids, 2 in college, mortgage in Queens. The cost of truth weighed against the cost of survival. "I was busy," Patricia says finally to the pot in front of her. "It was the dinner rush. I might have missed something." The words hit like a betrayal even though Marcus understands them perfectly. This is what James Nakamura's power does. It doesn't just threaten the target. It forces everyone around the target to choose between justice and survival survival wins almost every time. The officer closes his notebook. "We'll need to review security footage." "Already checked," Michelle interjects from the doorway. Her voice is strained. "The camera covering the pass went down around 7 p.m. Technical issue. We've had problems with that system all month." Marcus's stomach drops. Technical issue, or technical intervention. How much planning went into tonight? Did James research the restaurant beforehand? Did he know about the faulty cameras? Did he orchestrate this entire scenario from the moment he made the reservation? The officer exchanges a glance with his partner. They've been doing this long enough to smell something off, but not long enough to have the evidence to do anything about it. "Mr. Johnson, you're going to need to come down to the precinct. Answer some more questions." "Am I under arrest?" "Not yet, but Mr. Nakamura is insistent about pressing charges. We need a formal statement." Marcus thinks about the hospital bill, about Monday morning at 9 a.m., about 60 hours that just became 58 and counting. He thinks about calling a lawyer he can't afford, posting bail he doesn't have, explaining to his father why he's not at work. The older officer's radio crackles. She steps away to respond, her voice low. When she comes back, her expression has changed, more serious, more focused. "We're going to need you to come with us now, Mr. Johnson. There's been an update to the complaint." James Nakamura emerges from the dining room, Linda trailing behind him, looking like she wants to disappear. His face has settled into something worse than anger. Satisfaction. The expression of someone who knows he's already won. "I've just been informed by my attorney that Mr. Nakamura's office contacted this restaurant at 5:47 p.m. The officer checks her notes. 2 hours before his reservation. The call specifically mentioned severe food allergies and requested that servers not touch his plate directly. Is that accurate, Ms. Anderson? Michelle's face goes pale. Yes. We got that call. I briefed the staff. So Mr. Johnson would have been aware of this restriction. I told everyone during the pre-shift meeting. Marcus' mind races back. The pre-shift meeting. Michelle standing by the host stand, rapid-fire instructions about VIP tables and special requests. He'd been checking his phone, reading a text from the hospital about his father's latest blood work. He hadn't been fully paying attention. Had Michelle mentioned the allergy restriction? Probably. He doesn't remember. Can't remember. The last 3 years have been a blur of shifts and hospital visits and crisis management where details slip through exhausted cracks in memory. The officer's expression shifts into something more official. Mr. Johnson, I'm placing you under arrest for reckless endangerment and criminal mischief. You have the right to remain silent. The Miranda warning sounds like it's coming from underwater. Marcus is aware of handcuffs clicking around his wrists, aware of being walked through the kitchen past Patricia, who still won't look at him, past the dining room where phones are recording this final humiliation, past James Nakamura, who meets his eyes with that same thin smile. Linda Martinez isn't smiling. She's staring at her husband with something that looks like horror. The police car smells like industrial cleaner and old coffee. Marcus sits in the back seat, hands cuffed behind him, watching Manhattan blur past the window. It's 9:43 p.m. on a Friday night. The city is full of people going to clubs, to bars, to dinners where they'll laugh and take photos and never wonder about the man in handcuffs driving past. His phone buzzes in his pocket. He can't reach it, can't check if it's the hospital, can't do anything except sit with the reality that he just lost his job and his freedom in the span of 45 minutes. The precinct is everything police stations are in movies and nothing like them at the same time. Fluorescent lights that drain color from everyone's skin, uncomfortable chairs bolted to the floor, the smell of burned coffee and bureaucracy. Marcus gets fingerprinted, photographed, processed through a system designed to strip away dignity one procedure at a time. They put him in an interview room at 10:20 p.m. Gray walls, metal table, mirror that's obviously one-way glass. He's seen this in 100 crime dramas, and the familiarity makes it worse somehow. Life imitating art, imitating life. Detective Brian Thompson enters at 10:40. He's black, maybe 50, with the kind of face that's seen too much to be shocked by anything anymore. He carries a folder and a cup of coffee that he sets in front of Marcus without offering to remove the handcuffs. "Mr. Johnson, I'm Detective Thompson. I've been assigned to your case." Marcus doesn't respond. Every lawyer show he's ever watched says to stay silent, but he's never actually had a lawyer, and staying silent feels like admission. "You want to tell me what happened tonight?" "I want to know if I can make a phone call." "You'll get your call. First, I need to understand what we're dealing with here. James Nakamura is a prominent businessman. His company is worth close to $2 billion. He's got 5 lawyers on retainer, and he's very motivated to pursue this." "He's lying." Thompson leans back in his chair. "About what?" "All of it. He came in looking for a fight. He insulted me in Japanese, thinking I wouldn't understand. When I proved him wrong, he decided to destroy me. By claiming you poisoned him. By fabricating a crime that never happened." Thompson opens the folder, pulls out a printed transcript. At 6:30 p.m., Mr. Nakamura sent a text message to his associate. Want to know what it says? Marcus's chest tightens. Thompson reads, "Going to teach that server a lesson tonight. Watch and learn." He looks up. "Want to explain that?" "That's not about poisoning. That's about humiliation. He came in planning to make me look ignorant. It backfired." "Did it?" Thompson slides another page across the table. "Here's the phone log from Sakura Heights. Call came in at 5:47 p.m. from Nakamura's office. Secretary requesting special accommodation for food allergies, asking that servers not touch his plate directly. He set up the scenario hours in advance." The pieces click together in Marcus's mind with sickening clarity. The phone call establishing the restriction. The text message showing premeditation. The faulty security camera. The confrontation designed to provoke a response. The accusation that turns a routine adjustment into criminal tampering. This wasn't spontaneous rage. This was a plan. "He researched the restaurant," Marcus says slowly. "Knew about the camera issues. Knew I worked there. Maybe even knew my background. He engineered the entire evening." Thompson's expression doesn't change. "That's a serious accusation." "It's the truth. Truth requires evidence, Mr. Johnson. Right now, I've got a wealthy CEO with documented allergies, recorded communications establishing protocols, and your admission that you touched his plate after a confrontation. That's not a good position." Marcus leans forward as far as the handcuffs allow. "Then check his history. This can't be the first time. People don't develop this level of strategic cruelty overnight." Something flickers in Thompson's eyes. Interest, maybe. Or recognition. "What makes you think there's a history?" "Because men like James Nakamura don't see people like me as human. They see us as props in their performance of superiority. And when props talk back, they destroy them. He's done this before." Thompson is quiet for a long moment. Then he closes the folder and stands. "I'll be back." He leaves Marcus alone in the interview room. The clock on the wall says 11:07 p.m. Marcus watches the second hand tick. Each rotation is money he's not earning, time he's not spending at his father's bedside, distance growing between him and Monday morning's deadline. His mind keeps returning to the same image, his father's face when he finds out. Robert Williams, who spent 40 years welding railroad tracks so his son could use words instead of hammers, learning that those words just bought him a criminal record. The shame is worse than the fear. Thompson returns at 11:33 with a different energy. He sits down, slides a new document across the table. James Nakamura has been CEO of Nakamura Tech for 6 years. In that time, 14 employees have filed discrimination complaints, all settled quietly. NDAs signed, amounts ranging from $50,000 to $200,000. Marcus stares at the page. 14 people who challenged James Nakamura's authority and got paid to disappear. The company's majority owned by Yamamoto Global Ventures, 51% equity, public record from a 2019 SEC filing. They've been hands-off until recently, but word is they're concerned about the CEO's behavior affecting stock value. Why are you telling me this? Thompson meets his eyes. Because I've been a detective for 23 years, and I know what revenge dressed up as justice looks like. This whole thing stinks. But stinking isn't illegal, and you're still the one who touched his plate after a confrontation. So I'm going to jail. You're going to arraignment Monday morning unless you can post bail. $5,000. Marcus almost laughs. $5,000. He has $847 to his name and needs every penny for his father's treatment. Bail might as well be $5 million. I can't afford that. Then you'll stay in holding until Monday. After arraignment, if the judge sets bail higher or denies it entirely, you could be looking at Rikers until trial. The word Rikers lands like a physical blow. Marcus has read the reports, knows about the violence, the suicide rate, the way people go in for minor charges and come out broken. If he's sent there, his father dies alone in a county hospital and Marcus isn't there to hold his hand. I need to make my phone call. Thompson nods, unlocks the handcuffs, leads Marcus to a phone on the wall outside the interview room. Marcus's hands shake as he dials. The phone rings 4 times before a familiar voice answers, rough with sleep and oxygen deprivation. Hello? Dad? Robert Williams is immediately awake, immediately worried. Marcus? Baby, it's almost midnight. What's wrong? Everything. Everything is wrong. Marcus's throat closes around the words. I'm at the police station. I've been arrested. It's complicated. I didn't do what they're saying I did, but I need $5,000 for bail, and I don't have it. And I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. Slow down. What happened? Marcus tries to explain. The restaurant, James Nakamura, the false accusation, the systematic destruction of his life in under 3 hours. He leaves out the part about losing his job, about the hospital bill due Monday, about how this is the end of everything they've been fighting for. Robert listens without interrupting. When Marcus finally runs out of words, there's a long silence on the other end of the line. Then, you didn't do it. It's not a question. It's a statement of absolute certainty. No, sir. Then you hold your head up. You hear me? Whatever happens, you hold your head up. Because dignity ain't something somebody gives you, and it ain't something they can take away. It's what you are when nobody's watching, and it's what you are when everybody is. You understand? Marcus is crying, and he didn't realize it until now. Yes, sir. We'll figure out the money. We'll figure out all of it. You just remember who you are. You're Marcus Johnson. You're my son. And my son doesn't bow to men who think money makes them gods. The call ends at 11:47. Marcus hangs up the phone and Thompson is there, pretending he wasn't listening but clearly having heard every word. Your father sounds like a good man. The best. Thompson escorts Marcus to a holding cell. It's small, concrete, cold. 3 other men are already there, sleeping or pretending to sleep. Marcus sits on a metal bench and puts his head in his hands. This is where he is. This is what his life has become. A holding cell in Lower Manhattan, waiting for an arraignment he can't afford to fight, watching the hours tick down to his father's treatment deadline. Somewhere across the city, James Nakamura is probably at home in whatever penthouse he owns, sleeping peacefully, secure in the knowledge that he's crushed another person who dared to challenge him. Somewhere in the same city, Dr. Kenneth Yamamoto is in his hotel room, watching the video he recorded at Sakura Heights for the 7th time. He's making notes, placing calls, setting things in motion that Marcus doesn't know about yet. And in Brooklyn, Robert Williams is not sleeping. He's sitting at the edge of his hospital bed, oxygen tubes in his nose, making his own calls. To the church where he's been a member for 40 years. To friends who might know lawyers. To anyone who might be able to help his son. Because that's what fathers do when their children are in trouble. They fight. Even when they're dying. Especially when they're dying. Marcus doesn't sleep. He sits in the holding cell watching the clock. Watching his life circle the drain. watching everything he sacrificed for slip away while he's powerless to stop it. At 3 a.m., one of the other men in the cell starts talking. He's young, maybe 22, with gang tattoos on his neck and eyes that have seen too much. "What you in for?" Marcus doesn't want to talk, but silence in a holding cell is its own kind of dangerous. "False accusation. Rich guy claimed I poisoned him." The kid snorts. "Rich people. They'll fuck you over just because they can." It's crude. It's accurate. It's everything wrong with a system that lets wealth buy truth. "You got a lawyer?" "Can't afford one." "Public defender then. They're overworked, but some of them give a shit. Might get lucky." Luck. Marcus's life has come down to hoping for luck from an overworked public defender in a system designed to grind poor people into plea deals. The kid is quiet for a minute. Then, "My cousin got jammed up by some CEO type, sued him for shit he didn't do, dragged it out 3 years just because he could. My cousin lost everything. Job, apartment, girl he was gonna marry, all because he stood up for himself one time." "What happened to him?" "Killed himself, 2 months after the case finally got dismissed." Marcus closes his eyes. This is the warning. This is what happens when you challenge power without the resources to fight back. James Nakamura doesn't need to win in court. He just needs to destroy Marcus's life enough that winning becomes irrelevant. At 6 a.m., Thompson comes back. He looks like he hasn't slept either. "You've got a visitor." Marcus follows him to a small room with a table and 2 chairs. Sitting in one of them is a woman he's never seen before. She's maybe 45, black, wearing a suit that marks her as someone important. A leather briefcase sits at her feet. "Mr. Johnson, I'm Jennifer Davis. I'm an attorney with the ACLU. Marcus sits slowly. "I didn't call the ACLU." "No, but Dr. Kenneth Yamamoto did. He was at Sakura Heights last night. He recorded everything. And he thinks you're getting railroaded by a man with a documented history of racial discrimination." The words don't quite make sense. Dr. Yamamoto, the elderly Japanese man at table 7. Why would he care? Why would he involve the ACLU? Jennifer opens her briefcase and pulls out a tablet. "I've spent the last 4 hours reviewing James Nakamura's employment history, court records, and social media presence. The pattern is clear. He's used his position to silence, demean, and destroy people of color who challenge his authority. 14 settlements in 6 years, all confidential, all structured to make the problem go away without addressing the underlying behavior." She slides the tablet across the table. On the screen is a spreadsheet, names, dates, settlement amounts, a history of casual cruelty enabled by money and NDAs. This is a civil rights case disguised as a criminal one. He fabricated the food allergy story as pretext, set up the confrontation, waited for you to do something routine that he could reframe as criminal. It's textbook retaliation. Marcus stares at the evidence, at the systematic documentation of James Nakamura's pattern of abuse. "Why me? Why go to this much trouble?" "Because you humiliated him in public. And men like James Nakamura can't tolerate humiliation. It undermines the entire structure of their power, so they destroy the person who made them feel small, completely, publicly, as a warning to everyone else." She's right. Marcus knows she's right, but knowing doesn't change his situation. "I can't afford a lawyer. I can't even afford bail." "The ACLU is taking your case pro bono. We'll get you released today. But I need you to understand something, Marcus. James Nakamura will drag this out. He has unlimited resources and a team of lawyers who specialize in making problems disappear. This could take years. Years. His father doesn't have years, might not have months. My father has stage 3 lung cancer. He needs treatment that costs $15,000 a month. I can't fight a multi-year legal battle. I don't have time." Jennifer's expression softens. "Then we go nuclear, fast and public. We file a federal civil rights lawsuit. We leak the settlement records to the press. We make James Nakamura's pattern of discrimination the story, instead of your alleged crime. It's risky. If we lose, you'll have made an enemy of a billionaire with a long memory." I'm already his enemy. No. Right now you're an annoyance he's swatting. If we go after him the way I'm suggesting, you'll be a threat. He'll come after you with everything he has. Marcus thinks about his father, about Robert Williams teaching him that words are weapons, that knowledge is power, that you fight even when the odds are impossible because sometimes fighting is the only thing that matters. Do it. Jennifer nods, pulls out paperwork. We'll need your signature on a few things, and we'll need you to trust me. This is going to get ugly before it gets better. Marcus signs. What choice does he have? At 8:30 a.m., Jennifer gets him released on his own recognizance. The judge who handles weekend arraignments is a black woman who's clearly read enough to be suspicious of the charges. She sets a court date for 2 weeks out and tells Marcus not to leave the state. He walks out of the precinct into Saturday morning sunlight that feels surreal after 14 hours in fluorescent captivity. Jennifer is waiting on the steps. First thing Monday morning, we're filing the civil rights lawsuit. I've already contacted a business journalist at Bloomberg. The story about Nakamura's discrimination history will break Sunday night. You'll want to be somewhere with your phone off when that happens. The media circus will be intense. I need to see my father. Go. I'll call you with updates. Marcus takes the subway to Brooklyn. The train is full of weekend commuters, people with shopping bags and strollers, and lives that didn't implode in the last 12 hours. He checks his phone. 73 text messages, most from numbers he doesn't recognize. A few from former classmates who saw the videos. One from a professor at Columbia who says if there's anything he can do. Nothing from the hospital billing department. The deadline still stands. Monday at 9 a.m. He arrives at Memorial Hospital at 10:15. Robert is awake, sitting up, reading news on a tablet someone donated to the cancer ward. He looks up when Marcus enters and his face does something complicated. Relief, worry, pride, anger. They let you out. A CLU took my case. Pro bono. Robert sets down the tablet. Come here. Marcus sits on the edge of the hospital bed and his father pulls him into a hug that smells like antiseptic and sick lungs and 40 years of unconditional love. You did good last night, standing up for yourself. I lost my job, got arrested, ruined everything. You stood up. That's not nothing. Robert pulls back, looks his son in the eyes. I taught you that dignity can't be taken. Last night you proved it. That man tried to make you small and you refused. I'm proud of you. The words break something in Marcus's chest. He's been holding it together for 14 hours, and suddenly he can't anymore. He cries into his father's shoulder like he's 7 years old again, like crying can fix anything. Robert holds him, lets him break, because that's what fathers do. When Marcus finally pulls himself together, Robert says, Now tell me the truth. How bad is it? Marcus tells him everything. The hospital bill, the Monday deadline, the impossibility of the math. Robert is quiet for a long time. Then, I'm dying anyway. Let's not throw your future away trying to buy me a few extra months. Don't. I'm serious. You go back to school, finish that degree, live the life we worked for. I'm not having this conversation. Marcus? No. Marcus stands up, his voice firm. You spent 40 years making sure I could have a future. Now I'm spending everything I have making sure you get to see it. We're not giving up. Not yet. Robert looks at his son and sees himself. The same stubborn refusal to accept defeat. The same willingness to sacrifice everything for the people you love. You're going to make me live just to prove a point. Yes, sir. That's exactly what I'm going to do. They sit together in the hospital room. Outside, the city continues its indifferent spin. James Nakamura is somewhere making calls to his lawyers. Dr. Yamamoto is somewhere planning moves Marcus doesn't know about yet. Jennifer Davis is somewhere building a case that might destroy a billionaire or might destroy Marcus instead. But in this moment, in this small room in Brooklyn, there's just a father and son refusing to surrender to the mathematics of mortality and money. Robert falls asleep at noon. Marcus stays until visiting hours end at 2 p.m. Then he takes the subway back to Queens, to his tiny apartment where rent is due in 3 days, and he has no job to pay it. He sits on his futon and opens his laptop. Starts researching. James Nakamura. Nakamura Tech. Employment lawsuits. SEC filings. Glassdoor reviews. Everything he can find about the man trying to destroy him. The company is failing. Stock down 38% in 6 months, bleeding $2 million a month. 3 major clients left in the last quarter. The AI technology they developed turned out to be overhyped vaporware. James has been using aggressive PR and his personal charisma to keep investors from panicking. But the foundation is crumbling. One more scandal and Nakamura Tech collapses completely. Marcus keeps digging, finds the SEC filing Jennifer mentioned. Yamamoto Global Ventures owns 51%. They've been passive investors, but recent board minutes show growing concern about leadership. He finds the Glassdoor reviews, 23 employees mentioning James's racist tirades, his habit of using Japanese as a weapon, his belief that his heritage makes him superior to the diversity hires he's forced to work with. The pattern is undeniable. James Nakamura is a man who's been allowed to behave badly because his board didn't want to rock the boat while the company was growing. Now that it's failing, his behavior has become a liability. Marcus writes it all down, builds a timeline, connects the dots. He's been trained for this. 6 years of graduate research taught him how to find patterns, how to build arguments, how to construct cases from fragments of evidence. By midnight, he has 40 pages of documentation. By 3 a.m., he's written a legal brief citing Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, New York State Human Rights Law, and defamation statutes. It's not perfect. A real lawyer would do it better. But it's something. He emails it to Jennifer Davis with a note. Thought this might help. Then he collapses on his futon and sleeps for 4 hours. Sunday morning he wakes to 73 new messages. The Bloomberg story broke at 6 a.m. The headline, Nakamura Tech CEO accused of fabricating criminal charges against black waiter after racist incident. The article includes the video from Sakura Heights, Marcus's perfect Japanese, James's humiliation, the false accusation. It also includes details from the sealed settlements, leaked by someone with access to confidential court records. Twitter explodes. Justice for Marcus trends at number 3 nationally. 47 people who were at the restaurant post their videos showing Marcus never touched the plate. The narrative shifts from criminal poisoning to racist retaliation. By noon, Nakamura Tech's stock has dropped 11%. By 3 p.m., 3 more clients have announced they're reviewing their contracts. By 6 p.m., Linda Martinez has filed for divorce citing irreconcilable differences and moral conflict. Marcus watches it happen from his apartment, watches a billionaire's empire crack in real time, watches the court of public opinion do what the legal system hasn't yet. His phone rings. Jennifer Davis. Emergency board meeting tomorrow morning. Yamamoto Global is calling for James' removal as CEO. They want you there. Why? Because this isn't just about you anymore. This is about whether a company enables racist behavior or holds its leadership accountable. You're the catalyst. But the change is bigger than one lawsuit. Marcus thinks about Monday morning, about the hospital deadline, about his father sitting in Brooklyn waiting for a miracle that costs $2,050. I'll be there. Because what else can he do? He's already lost everything. Might as well see it through. Monday morning breaks cold and gray over Manhattan. Marcus stands outside the Nakamura Tech headquarters at 8:45, wearing the only suit he owns. It's 5 years old, bought for academic conferences that never happened, and the sleeves are half an inch too short. Jennifer Davis stands beside him in sharp contrast, her tailored blazer and confident posture marking her as someone who belongs in buildings like this. The lobby is all glass and steel, designed to intimidate. A massive screen behind the reception desk cycles through images of smiling, diverse employees and buzzwords about innovation. Marcus spots his reflection in the polished floor and sees a man who looks nothing like the bright-eyed graduate student who defended his dissertation 3 years ago. He looks like someone who's been fighting for his life and losing. Jennifer checks her phone. Yamamoto's already upstairs. Board convened at 8. This is theater as much as business. They want James to know he's being watched. What do they want from me? Presence. Evidence that their CEO's behavior has real consequences. You're the human cost of his pattern. The elevator ride to the 42nd floor is silent, except for the mechanical hum. Marcus thinks about his father, probably awake by now in his hospital bed, checking his phone for updates. The billing deadline is 20 minutes away. Marcus has $847. He texted the hospital administrator last night begging for an extension. No response. The boardroom is exactly what Marcus expected. Mahogany table that could seat 20, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. 12 people already seated, all in suits that cost more than Marcus makes in 6 months. At the head of the table sits Dr. Kenneth Yamamoto, somehow both smaller and more commanding than he appeared at Sakura Heights. James Nakamura sits opposite him, flanked by 5 attorneys who look like they bill $1,000 an hour. His silver hair is perfect. His suit is immaculate. But there's something brittle in his posture, like a man trying very hard not to shatter. Yamamoto stands when Marcus enters. The gesture forces everyone else to stand as well, a subtle power move that establishes hierarchy without a word. Mr. Johnson, thank you for coming. Please, sit. Marcus takes the only empty chair directly across from James. Their eyes meet. James's expression is pure hatred wrapped in a thin veneer of professional courtesy. Yamamoto remains standing. This emergency meeting has been called to address serious concerns about leadership conduct and fiduciary responsibility. Mr. Nakamura, you've seen the Bloomberg article. You're aware that 14 prior discrimination settlements have become public knowledge. The company's stock has dropped 17% since Friday. 3 major clients have suspended contracts pending review. Our investors are demanding answers. James leans back in his chair with forced casualness. With respect, Dr. Yamamoto, one disgruntled employee's false accusations don't constitute a pattern. The Bloomberg article is based on sealed court documents that were illegally obtained. My attorneys are already filing motions. The documents were obtained through legal discovery in an ongoing civil rights lawsuit. Jennifer's voice is calm, factual. Mr. Johnson has filed a federal complaint under Title VII. The settlements are relevant evidence of discriminatory practice. One of James's lawyers, a man with silver temples and a $5,000 watch, interjects. The ACLU is using this board meeting as a publicity stunt. Mr. Nakamura's personal dispute with a restaurant employee has no bearing on his fitness to lead this company. Yamamoto sits slowly, letting the silence stretch. When he speaks, it's in Japanese. The shift is deliberate, calculated to exclude most of the room and include exactly 2 people. What he says translates roughly to, I was present Friday evening at Sakura Heights. I sat at table 7. I observed the entire interaction. I recorded it. James goes very still. Yamamoto continues in English. Mr. Nakamura entered that restaurant with the intention of humiliating a service worker he assumed would be ignorant. When that worker demonstrated superior knowledge of Japanese linguistics and culture, Mr. Nakamura's response was to fabricate a criminal accusation. The premeditation is documented. His office called the restaurant 2 hours in advance to establish the allergy narrative. Text messages show intent to teach a lesson. He slides a tablet across the table. On the screen is the video from Friday night. Crystal clear audio. James speaking in Japanese, saying things he thought no one would understand. Marcus responding with scholarly precision, the false accusation that followed. This is who leads our company. A man who uses his heritage as a weapon, who retaliates against perceived slights with calculated destruction, who has cost this corporation millions in settlements, and now threatens to cost us everything in market value and reputation. James's lead attorney stands. Dr. Yamamoto, this is highly irregular. Personnel matters should be handled through proper channels, not ambushed in board meetings with outside parties present. Mr. Johnson is not an outside party. He is evidence. He represents the human cost of leadership failure. Yamamoto's eyes move around the table, meeting each board member's gaze. I am invoking my right as majority shareholder. to call for an immediate vote on Mr. Nakamura's removal as CEO, effective today. The room erupts. 3 board members try to speak at once. James' attorneys are on their feet, citing bylaws and procedures. One board member, a woman in her 60s with kind eyes, is staring at the video still playing on the tablet with visible disgust. James himself says nothing. He's watching Yamamoto with the focus of a man calculating odds and finding them unfavorable. The vote happens at 9:17, 9 in favor of removal, 2 opposed, 1 abstention. James Nakamura is no longer CEO of the company he built. His face doesn't change, doesn't crack. But something in his eyes goes dark and cold. He stands, buttons his suit jacket with mechanical precision, and looks directly at Marcus. This isn't over. Then he walks out, his attorneys scrambling to follow. The boardroom empties quickly after that. Business people hate witnessing humiliation, even when it's deserved. Jennifer is already on her phone, probably calling the press contacts she has on speed dial. The story will be everywhere by noon. Yamamoto approaches Marcus as the last board member exits. Up close, he's smaller than he seemed on video, but there's a density to him. The weight of 7 decades of watching, learning, making decisions that matter. Mr. Johnson, walk with me. They leave the boardroom, take a different elevator down to a private office on the 39th floor. Yamamoto's space is nothing like the corporate showroom upstairs. Books in Japanese and English line the walls. A tea set sits on a low table. Photos show a younger Yamamoto with what might be his family, all formal poses and careful smiles. He gestures for Marcus to sit, then prepares tea with motions that suggest decades of practice. The ritual is calming, deliberate, a counterweight to the chaos upstairs. 3 years ago, I reviewed a doctoral dissertation on Keigo power dynamics in modern Japanese corporate culture. It was submitted to the Yamamoto Foundation as part of a grant application. The analysis was brilliant, revolutionary even. I funded it anonymously through Columbia University. Marcus's hands go still around the teacup. When the researcher withdrew from the program, I tried to locate him. Columbia wouldn't release information. I assumed he'd gone to another institution, taken a better offer. Then Friday night, I sat in a restaurant and heard a server speak Heian Japanese with perfect grammatical precision. I knew immediately who you were. Why didn't you say something? Because dignity that's given is worthless. It has to be claimed. You claimed yours Friday night when you refused to accept James Nakamura's attempt to diminish you. If I'd intervened then, it would have been rescue. This, he gestures toward the ceiling, toward the boardroom, toward everything that just happened. This is recognition of what you earned yourself. Marcus sets down his tea. His hands are shaking. I appreciate everything you've done, Dr. Yamamoto. The ACLU, the board meeting, but I'm running out of time. My father needs treatment that costs $15,000 a month. I lost my job Friday. I can't make the payment that's due. He checks his phone. 8 minutes ago. In 3 hours, they'll transfer him to county facility where there is no experimental immunotherapy, where he has 6 months, maybe less. Yamamoto is quiet. Then, what would you say to a position as Director of Linguistic Justice Research at the Yamamoto Foundation? Base salary $180,000 per year. Research budget of $500,000 annually. Full medical benefits that include experimental treatments. Position starts immediately. The words don't make sense. Marcus's brain tries to process them and fails. I don't understand. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering you the job I've been trying to fill for 3 years. You're the foremost expert on linguistic power dynamics in corporate environments. Your work on Keigo structures predicted exactly the kind of behavior we just witnessed upstairs. The Foundation needs that expertise. I need that expertise. Why now? Why not 3 years ago when I withdrew? 3 years ago you were a scholar with theories. Now you're a scholar who's lived them, who understands viscerally what it means when language becomes a weapon, who can speak to corporate audiences about real consequences, not abstract concepts. Yamamoto refills Marcus's tea. Plus, frankly, the publicity from this case will give your research immediate visibility. James Nakamura just provided the perfect case study for everything you've been trying to prove. Marcus thinks about his father, about the hospital deadline that's now 3 minutes past, about 3 years of survival mode and impossible choices. I need to make a phone call. Yamamoto hands him an office phone. Marcus dials Memorial Hospital with fingers that barely work. The billing administrator answers on the third ring. Mr. Johnson, I was just about to process the transfer order. I need more time. I'm about to have insurance, a new job. I can pay, I just need... I'm sorry, policy is clear. Without payment by 9 a.m., we have to move patients to county facility to free up beds for insured... Yamamoto takes the phone from Marcus's hand. This is Dr. Kenneth Yamamoto. I'm calling regarding Robert Williams, patient ID. He glances at Marcus, who provides the number, 774923. Mr. Williams is now covered under Yamamoto Foundation Medical Insurance, effective immediately. The policy covers all experimental treatments without caps. I'm sending over the insurance information now. Please delay any transfer. He hangs up, pulls out his phone, types rapidly. My assistant is sending the insurance documents to the hospital. Your father will stay at Memorial. Treatment continues. Marcus can't speak, can't breathe. 3 years of drowning and suddenly someone threw him a rope. Yamamoto continues as if he hasn't just saved a man's life. You'll need to finish your doctorate. Columbia will accept you back. I've already spoken to the department chair. Your previous coursework stands. You'll need to defend your dissertation, but given recent events, I suspect your committee will be very interested in your revised analysis. I don't know what to say. Say you'll take the position. Say you'll use what happened to you to help others. Say you'll finish what you started 3 years ago. Marcus looks at this elderly Japanese man who sat quietly in a restaurant and recorded everything. Who called the ACLU? Who orchestrated a corporate coup? Who's now offering not rescue but opportunity? Why are you doing this? Yamamoto is quiet for a long moment. 40 years ago, I came to America as a graduate student. I spoke fluent English, but my accent was heavy. A professor told me I would never succeed in American academia because I sounded foreign. He suggested I return to Japan where I belonged. He picks up a photo from his desk. A younger Yamamoto receiving some kind of award, surrounded by people in academic regalia. I spent 2 years perfecting my accent, erasing any trace of my origin, making myself acceptable to people who would never fully accept me. Then one day I realized I was doing exactly what that professor wanted, making myself smaller to fit his limited imagination. He sets down the photo. You didn't make yourself smaller Friday night. You made James Nakamura face the reality that his grandfather's heritage doesn't belong to him just because he inherited the DNA. Culture is learned, earned, lived. You earned it through study and discipline. He inherited it through accident of birth and wielded it as a cudgel. So this is about revenge? Using me to punish him? This is about justice, which looks like revenge only to people who've never experienced injustice. Yamamoto meets Marcus's eyes. James Nakamura will rebuild. Men like him always do. They have resources, connections, family money to fall back on. But for the rest of his life, he'll know that a black man with a borrowed uniform spoke better Japanese than he ever will. That knowledge will eat at him forever. That's not revenge. That's consequence. Marcus thinks about James's face during the vote, the cold fury, the promise that this isn't over. He'll come after me, after you, after anyone involved in this. Let him try. I've been dealing with men like James Nakamura my entire life. They're dangerous when they have institutional power. Without it, they're just bitter men shouting at a world that's moved past them. Jennifer Davis appears in the doorway. Marcus, we need to talk about next steps. The criminal charges are being dropped. DA reviewed the evidence, including Dr. Yamamoto's video, and declined to prosecute. You're free. The relief should be total. Instead, Marcus feels oddly hollow. 3 years of fighting and suddenly it's over. The threat is gone. The job is real. His father will live. It's too much. Too fast. The human brain isn't wired to process catastrophic loss and miraculous rescue in the span of 96 hours. Jennifer continues. However, James has filed a defamation suit. He's claiming the Bloomberg article damaged his reputation and career prospects. He's suing you, the ACLU, Bloomberg, and Dr. Yamamoto for $200 million. And there it is. The revenge James promised. If he can't destroy Marcus criminally, he'll do it financially. Tie him up in litigation for years, make his life a legal nightmare even if he ultimately loses. Yamamoto doesn't look concerned. Let him sue. We have truth on our side, and unlimited legal resources. He has ego and dwindling assets. His personal wealth is considerable, Jennifer warns. Even without the CEO position, he can fund this lawsuit indefinitely. Then we make it so expensive and so public that continuing becomes more damaging than surrendering. We countersue for malicious prosecution. We release every sealed settlement to the press. We make James Nakamura the case study for how not to wield power. Marcus listens to them discuss legal strategy like it's chess. Meanwhile, his phone is buzzing. Text messages, voicemails, emails. The story has exploded. News outlets want interviews. Talk shows want him as a guest. Columbia professors are reaching out. Tokyo University has sent an email asking if he's still interested in their offer from 3 years ago. His life has gone from private catastrophe to public spectacle in 72 hours. He excuses himself, takes the elevator down to the lobby, walks outside into Monday morning Manhattan, where people rush past with coffee and briefcases and problems that fit inside normal parameters. His phone rings. Unknown number. He almost doesn't answer. Marcus Johnson? Yes. This is Patricia Garcia from Sakura Heights. I need to tell you something. Marcus stops walking. I'm listening. Patricia's voice is strained, guilty. I lied to the police. I was at the pass the entire time. You never tampered with anything. I saw exactly what happened and I said I wasn't sure because I was scared of losing my job. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Why are you calling now? Because I saw the news. Saw what he did to you. And I have 3 daughters. What kind of mother am I if I teach them to stay silent when they witness injustice? She takes a shaky breath. I'm willing to testify, officially, whatever you need. Marcus thinks about Patricia in her kitchen, head down, choosing survival over truth. He understands it completely, doesn't blame her for it. But her willingness to come forward now, when it's still dangerous, when James can still retaliate, that matters. Thank you. That means more than you know. He gives her Jennifer's contact information. Hangs up. Stands on a Manhattan sidewalk feeling something that might be hope, or might be exhaustion, or might be both. His phone rings again. This time he recognizes the number. Memorial Hospital. Mr. Johnson, this is Nurse Michaels. Your father asked me to call. He wants you to come by when you can. Says he needs to talk to you about something important. Marcus catches a cab to Brooklyn. The city slides past the window, indifferent and massive. He thinks about Friday night, about standing in Sakura Heights with crumpled bills in his pocket and no idea his life was about to detonate. About James Nakamura, walking in with his expensive suit and his casual cruelty and his absolute certainty that he could destroy anyone he wanted. About how close that certainty came to being true. The hospital smells the same as always. Antiseptic and sick bodies and industrial cleaning products that can't quite mask the underlying decay. Marcus has spent so many hours here that the nurses know him by name. They smile as he passes, genuine warmth mixed with pity. Robert is awake, sitting up, looking stronger than he has in weeks. The oxygen tubes are still there, but he's not struggling for air the way he was Friday. Already the new insurance is making a difference. Better medications, attentive care, the things that money buys in American healthcare. There's my boy. Robert's voice is rough but steady. I saw the news. Saw what happened at that board meeting. You took down a billionaire, son. Marcus sits in the visitor's chair he's worn smooth over 3 years. We took him down. Dr. Yamamoto, the ACLU, a lot of people. But you started it. You stood up when he tried to make you small. Everything else followed from that. Robert reaches for his hand. I'm proud of you. Your mama would be too. The mention of his mother, dead 10 years from the same kind of cancer that's killing his father, hits hard. She'd been a teacher, brilliant, fierce, determined that her son would have every opportunity she'd fought to create. I got the job. The one Dr. Yamamoto offered, director of research. Good salary. Insurance that covers everything. You're going to beat this, Dad. We're going to beat this. Robert is quiet for a long time. Then, I want you to promise me something. Anything. Don't waste the second chance. Don't spend it fighting battles that don't matter or holding grudges that poison you. James Nakamura is beaten. Let him stay beaten. You go forward. You finish that degree. You do the work you were meant to do. You live a life that matters. I will. And when I'm gone, you're not going anywhere. When I'm gone, Robert continues firmly, you remember that everything I did, every double shift, every year in those railroad yards breathing poison, I did it gladly. Because you were worth it. You are worth it. Don't ever let anyone make you believe otherwise. Marcus is crying and doesn't care. I won't. They sit together in the hospital room. Outside, the city spins on. James Nakamura is somewhere plotting his next move. Dr. Yamamoto is somewhere managing the fallout. Jennifer Davis is somewhere building legal strategies. But in this moment, there's just a father and son who fought for each other and somehow, miraculously, won. Marcus stays until visiting hours end at 2 p.m. Then he takes the subway back to Manhattan, to Columbia University, where he has a meeting with his former dissertation advisor. Professor Elizabeth Chen looks exactly the same as she did 3 years ago. Sharp eyes, elegant gray hair, the perpetual expression of someone evaluating an argument for logical flaws. She stands when Marcus enters her office. Mr. Johnson, or should I say Dr. Yamamoto's newest hire. They shake hands. Marcus sits in the same chair where he sat 3 years ago when he told her he was withdrawing. I've reviewed your previous work. The dissertation was 90% complete. You need to update your literature review, incorporate recent developments in the field, and defend before a committee. Given current circumstances, I suspect we can schedule a defense within 3 months. That fast? Your work on linguistic power dynamics just became the most relevant research in the field. Everyone wants to read it. Every journal wants to publish it. You're not just finishing a degree, Marcus. You're launching a career that most scholars would kill for. She pulls out a folder. Inside are course syllabi, reading lists, defense procedures. However, I need to know you're committed. 3 years ago you left. You had good reasons, the best reasons. But if you're going to finish this time, I need your word that you won't disappear again. Marcus thinks about Friday night, about Sunday's board meeting, about his father in a hospital bed telling him to live a life that matters. You have my word. Professor Chen smiles. Good. Then let's get you graduated. The world needs scholars who understand how language shapes power, especially scholars who've lived it. Marcus spends the next 3 hours in the library, surrounded by books and journals and the comfortable silence of academic work. It feels like coming home after years in exile. He'd forgotten how much he loves this. The research, the analysis, the careful construction of arguments that might, possibly, change how people think. His phone buzzes constantly. Interview requests, media inquiries. Someone from NPR wants him for a segment on workplace discrimination. Harvard has sent an email about a visiting professorship. The world has decided Marcus Johnson is interesting and everyone wants a piece of him. He ignores most of it, focuses on the work in front of him, rebuilding the bibliography, updating citations, finding the thread of his argument and pulling it tight. At 6 p.m., he gets a text from Jennifer. James's lawyers filed motion to dismiss our countersuit. Judge denied it. We're going to trial. This could take 2 years. 2 years of litigation. 2 years of James Nakamura trying to destroy him through legal attrition. 2 years of depositions and motions and appeals. Marcus texts back. Let him try. I'm not going anywhere. Because that's what James doesn't understand. Money can buy lawyers and delay tactics and making someone's life difficult. But it can't buy the stubborn refusal to surrender that Marcus learned from his father. Can't buy the knowledge that dignity isn't something you can lose unless you give it away. Marcus worked 3 years serving people who didn't see him. He can handle 2 years of legal warfare. At 7 p.m. he leaves the library. The campus is beautiful in early evening light. Trees just starting to show green, students scattered across lawns with laptops and textbooks, and the casual confidence of people whose futures are secure. He was supposed to be one of them. 3 years ago, this was supposed to be his world. Then life intervened and he thought he'd lost it forever. But he's back, older, scarred, changed in ways that can't be undone. And maybe that's better. Maybe the scholar who emerges from this is stronger than the one who would have defended 3 years ago. Maybe losing everything and clawing it back teaches something that smooth success never could. His phone rings. Dr. Yamamoto. Marcus, small matter. The Foundation is hosting a symposium on linguistic justice in corporate environments next month. I'd like you to present. Your recent experience makes you uniquely qualified to speak on the subject. I've never presented at a symposium. Then it's time you learned. I've sent you the details. Audience will be about 200 corporate executives, HR professionals, and academics. Should be friendly. The call ends before Marcus can object. He looks at the email. The symposium is at a hotel in Midtown. His presentation slot is 90 minutes. Topic: Kigo as Weapon. How Heritage Language Becomes Tool of Exclusion and Oppression. It's essentially his dissertation defense, repackaged for a corporate audience. And it's exactly the kind of thing James Nakamura would attend to stay relevant in business circles. Marcus smiles. Yamamoto is giving him a platform, making him visible, turning him from victim into authority. It's strategic, calculated, and absolutely right. He spends the next 3 weeks preparing, writing his presentation, practicing his delivery, updating his research with the Sakura Heights case study. The work is exhausting and exhilarating in equal measure. Robert's health improves steadily. The experimental immunotherapy is working. Tumors are shrinking. The oncologist is using words like remission and optimistic. It's too early to celebrate, but late enough to hope. Marcus moves out of his studio in Queens, gets a real apartment near campus with actual furniture and windows that face south, buys a suit that fits, gets a haircut at a real salon instead of the $15 place in Chinatown. Slowly, carefully, he rebuilds a life. The day before the symposium, Jennifer calls with news. James dropped the defamation suit. His lawyers advised him that continuing would expose more evidence of his pattern of discrimination. He's settling. No admission of guilt, but he's paying $200,000 to the ACLU's Discrimination Defense Fund. It's over. Over. $200,000 that will help other people fight back against employers who abuse power. Marcus should feel victorious. Instead, he feels tired. Fighting is exhausting, even when you win. The symposium happens on a Wednesday in May. Marcus stands backstage in a hotel conference room, watching 200 people file in. Corporate executives in expensive suits, HR professionals with tablets and concerned expressions, academics with the particular posture of people who live in their heads. And in the third row, sitting alone, is James Nakamura. He looks different, thinner. His hair is still perfect, but there's something diminished about him. The arrogance is gone, replaced by something harder to read. Bitterness, maybe. Or the particular exhaustion of a man who's lost everything and is trying to figure out who he is without power. Their eyes meet. James doesn't look away, doesn't smile, just sits there, waiting to hear what Marcus has to say. Dr. Yamamoto appears at Marcus's elbow. He showed up. Interesting. Should I be worried? No. He's here because he needs to understand what he lost. Let him listen. Marcus takes the stage at 2 p.m. The room goes quiet. He clicks to his first slide, a photo of the character Jing, K, meaning respect. This is the foundation of Keigo, Japanese honorific language. It's built on respect, on recognizing the humanity and status of others through linguistic choice. But like any tool, it can be weaponized, used to exclude, to diminish, to remind people of their place. He talks for 90 minutes about power dynamics in language, about how people use cultural capital to maintain hierarchies, about what happens when someone challenges those hierarchies. He tells his story. Sakura Heights, James Nakamura, the false accusation, the systematic attempt at destruction. He doesn't mention James by name. Doesn't need to. Everyone in the room knows who he's talking about. When he finishes, the applause is immediate and sustained. People stand. The academics are nodding. The HR professionals are taking notes frantically. The executives look uncomfortable, which means they're listening. During the Q&A, someone asks, "How do we prevent this kind of abuse in corporate settings?" Marcus thinks carefully. "You make it expensive, not just financially, though that matters. You make it socially expensive, reputationally expensive. You create environments where abusing power costs more than wielding it. And you believe people when they report discrimination. Actually believe them, actually investigate, actually enforce consequences." Another question. What would you say to someone who's experienced this kind of discrimination? Document everything. Find allies. Use the legal system, but know it's slow and imperfect. Most importantly, refuse to internalize their assessment of your worth. They're wrong about you. Let them be wrong loudly, publicly, until everyone can see it. The symposium ends at 4 p.m. People crowd around Marcus afterward, wanting to talk, to share their own stories, to thank him for putting words to their experiences. James Nakamura doesn't approach. He sits in the third row until the room empties, then stands and walks toward the exit. Marcus catches up to him in the hallway. "You came." James stops, turns. Up close, the changes are more obvious. Lines around his eyes that weren't there before. A weariness in his posture. "I came because I needed to hear it from someone who actually earned what I was given. My grandfather spoke perfect Japanese, taught me enough to get by. I thought that made it mine, made me authentic, made me better than people who learned it as a second language." He's quiet for a moment. "You spoke Heian court Japanese, 10 centuries old. I didn't even know what I was hearing until you explained it. And I realized I'd built my entire identity on something I barely understood." Is this an apology? No, I'm not ready for that. Maybe I never will be. But it's acknowledgement. You were right. I was wrong. And I'm trying to figure out how to live with that. James walks away. Marcus watches him go, this man who tried to destroy him and failed. He doesn't feel victorious, doesn't feel vindicated. He feels something closer to sadness. For what James could have been if he'd spent his privilege building bridges instead of walls. For the opportunities wasted on proving superiority instead of achieving excellence. That evening, Marcus has dinner with his father at a restaurant in Brooklyn. A good restaurant, the kind where the waitstaff are treated like humans and the tips reflect actual service. Robert has gained weight. His color is better. He's walking without a cane. The immunotherapy is working beyond anyone's expectations. Your mama would have loved to see this. You up there teaching people. Standing in your truth. She taught me that. Both of you did. We gave you the foundation. You built the house. Robert reaches across the table, takes his son's hand. "I'm going to beat this thing. The doctors say 2 more months of treatment, then we reassess. But even if I don't, even if it comes back, I've already won. Because you're here. You're whole. You're doing work that matters. That's all any father wants." Marcus squeezes his hand. "You're going to beat it. And you're going to be at my dissertation defense. Front row. That's non-negotiable. Deal." They eat. They talk. They laugh at stupid jokes and share memories and plan for a future that 6 months ago seemed impossible. Later, walking through Brooklyn toward the subway, Marcus gets a text from an unknown number. "Saw your presentation. Applied to Columbia's linguistics program. Hoping to study under you someday. Thank you for showing us it's possible." A server in Los Angeles who just spoke back to her manager in perfect Mandarin. Marcus smiles, saves the text, sends back, "Welcome to the fight. You're going to be great." Because that's what this is really about. Not revenge, not even justice, though that matters. It's about showing people that their knowledge has value, that their dignity can't be taken, that language is power and they have every right to wield it. 3 months later, Marcus defends his dissertation before a packed room at Columbia. The committee asks tough questions. He answers them all. When they vote to pass, the room erupts in applause. Robert sits in the front row, tears streaming down his face, oxygen tubes still in his nose but life still in his eyes. Dr. Yamamoto sits beside him, looking satisfied in the quiet way of people who make things happen from behind the scenes. Jennifer Davis is there. Patricia Garcia flew in from wherever she ended up after leaving Sakura Heights. Former classmates Marcus hasn't seen in years, professors who remembered him, students who've heard about his story and want to see the man who stood up to a billionaire and won. After the defense, after the congratulations and the photos and the celebration dinner, Marcus stands alone on the Columbia campus, watching the sun set over New York City. He thinks about the man he was 3 years ago. Brilliant but untested, theoretical but inexperienced, full of ideas about power and language but no real understanding of what those ideas cost in the real world. He thinks about Friday night at Sakura Heights, about James Nakamura walking in with his expensive suit and his casual cruelty, about the moment Marcus chose to speak instead of stay silent, about how that single choice cascaded into everything that followed. He thinks about his father, alive and fighting and refusing to surrender, and he thinks about dignity, how it can't be given and can't be taken, how it's something you claim and defend and pass on to others who need to see it modeled. His phone buzzes, a text from the first server who reached out after the symposium. Just got accepted to grad school, studying linguistics, going to be the first in my family with a PhD. Thank you for showing me it's possible. Marcus texts back, "You showed yourself it's possible. I just held up a mirror." He puts away his phone, starts walking toward the subway. Tomorrow he starts work at the Yamamoto Foundation. Tomorrow his father has another round of treatment. Tomorrow the world continues its indifferent spin. But tonight, standing on a college campus with a completed doctorate and a father in remission and a future full of possibility, Marcus Johnson allows himself to feel something he hasn't felt in 3 years. Peace. Not happiness. Not yet. The wounds are too fresh, the battles too recent. But peace. The knowledge that he fought and survived, that his father fought and survived, that they took everything the world threw at them and refused to break. Dignity ain't in your paycheck, his father said. Marcus finally understands what that means. It's in who you are when life knocks you flat and you choose to stand back up anyway. It's in refusing to let cruelty define you. It's in using your voice even when silence would be safer. It's in the choice to fight, even when you're terrified, even when the odds are impossible, especially then, because that's when it matters most.